Hello, my friends. Welcome to another edition to Storytime with Dove. And I, your host, am Dove. So today's book, it's small, but it's a good one. And it's called The Cat with Two Homes. And it was written by Tim Healey, and the pictures are illustrated by Jo Burroughes. Ollie was a stray cat, and a very ordinary cat at that. His coat was no particular color, a sort of grayish, brownish, stripy, tabby type of cat. He was not especially thin or fat or especially big or small. Ollie was, well, ordinary. Here's Ollie. But Ollie the ordinary cat had seen enough of the world to know that it can be extraordinary place. For example, at some times of year the weather is hot, and at other times it's cold. Some places for snoozing are rather soft, and others are rather hard. Can you see where he's sleeping? On the one picture where it's soft, it's a mattress of some sort, and where it's hard, he's on top of a car roof. One thing I know from spending time with cats is they do what they want to do, and you can never figure out what they want to do. Isn't that right? She says yes. Some dogs, they run very, very fast, and others, not so much. They run kind of slow. And when cats get chased, they look to go up high. Sometimes a nice tree is where they like to go. Some places are noisy, and others are very quiet. Kitties don't like their naps to be interrupted. Often, as he prowled around the streets and gardens of his town, Ollie would find windows shut. What do you think Ollie's doing? He's going to people's windows and looking into them. But sometimes he would find a window that was open. And sometimes he would sneak inside to have a look about. Do you think cats really do this? Just today, we had a visitor of a cat that we've known for a while. We call this cat, we gave it a name of Mittens. And today, the cat came into our house to see what we were doing and to have something to eat. It just came and acted as though it owned the place. That's what cats are. One day, Ollie slipped into the home of the Tubbs family. It was very untidy in there. Boy, I'll say. This family needs to spend some time cleaning up, huh? Eek! Cried Mrs. Tubbs. There's a cat in the living room. Look, everyone, look. Don't frighten the poor thing, said Mr. Tubbs. He looks hungry. Here, puss, 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 puss. I wasn't trying to frighten him, dear, said Mrs. Tubbs. I merely said, eek. But you're right. That cat has not been properly fed. And she went off to the kitchen to see what food she could find. The Tubbs were short and chubby. They were a kind family too, and from that day onward they allowed Ollie to make their house his home. Looks like Mr. and Mrs. Tubbs are watching television and the cat is sitting along and enjoying it. Maybe it's a show about cats. Cats like to see shows about cats. Every morning, Ollie dropped in and was given an enormous breakfast. The Tubbs thought of Ollie as a rather skinny cat, and they laid out a huge amount of food for him. There was much more than Ollie could eat, and he was always so full up that he left some of it behind. The Tubbs did not know Ollie's real name, so they decided to call him Slim. They even bought a feeding dish and wrote the name upon it. See, on his bowl it says Slim, S-L-I-M, Slim. Slim is a kind of word for skinny. Ollie, the ordinary cat, did not spend the whole day hanging around the Tubbs' house. He liked to roam, and around midday he would often find himself near the home of the Pike family, who lived in the same street but on the opposite side of the road. What do you think is going to happen here? One day, Ollie had a fight with a neighbor's cat and hid in the Pike's garden to lick his wounds. Mrs. Pike found him there and brought him into the house. "Look at this poor stray," Mrs. Pike said to her husband. "See, he's been in a fight and he needs someone to look after him." Said Mr. Pike. "He looks well enough looked after to me. Just see what a plump fellow he is. A real old roly-poly." Uh-oh. The Pike's house was quite unlike the Tubbs' house. It was very tidy. See how neat everything is? Everything has its place. And the Pikes themselves were both rather tall and thin. They were a kindly family, and they did not like to think of Ollie having no home to go to. So from that day onward, they gave Ollie the freedom of their house. Look at Ollie all on the couch by himself. He likes that very much. Every lunchtime, Ollie would drop in and was given a midday meal. The Pikes thought of Ollie as rather a plump cat and only laid out tiny quantities of food for him. "That cat," said Miss Pike, "is much too fat, but we can't give him nothing at all." And because the Pikes did not know Ollie's real name, they called him Pudge. They even bought him a feeding dish and wrote the name upon it. Pudge. That's a name that kind of means kind of like fat or chubby. So in his one family, they call him Slim or Skinny. In his other family, they call him Pudge. So it was that Ollie became a cat with two homes. For many years, he lived in or about the same neighborhood without anyone suspecting his secret, until one afternoon, one very ordinary afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Tubbs met Mr. and Mrs. Pike in the street, and Ollie happened to be snoozing on a wall nearby. "Look at that lazy creature," said Mrs. Tubbs finally. "He's our cat, you know. Always comes by for breakfast, and we call him Slim." "But he's our cat," said the astonished Mrs. Pike. "He has his lunch with us, and we call him Pudge." Let's see. "A cat with two homes," chuckled Mr. Tubbs. "A cat with two names," laughed Mr. Pike. And their laughter wakened Ollie from his sleep, and he licked his lips and yawned. And then he stretched himself so that he looked very long and thin. And then he puffed out his fur so that he looked rather short and fat. And then he darted off and he jumped over one garden gate. And he sneaked under another. He climbed up onto a roof and down the other side. Where's Ollie going? He dashed into a big drain pipe and he came out of the other end of the drain pipe. Where was he going? Well, because it was late afternoon and it would soon be time for his evening meal, Ollie was going off to eat at his third home. Third home, you might say? Oh, yes. Didn't I tell you? Ollie has a third home, and it's the one he likes best of all. It must be a really snug home, too, for he goes there every night. But where is that home? It's a secret known only to Ollie. It's a bit of a mystery to me as well. And that, my friends, is the end. Because we don't know where Ollie's third home is. Because cats like to live a mysterious life. They like to keep you guessing. Is that true, Socks? She has a lot of mysteries too. My friends, thank you very much for watching this video. If you have time, watch some of the other ones. And I hope that you're well. God bless.